I would get followed that much. And I got shot off the road on Highway 87 one time, for people who still following me. And I got stabbed. I got shot at. So back then, people took it very serious, and I kind of contributed that to my kayfabe of my gimmick. I didn't want nobody to know who I was.
Were you in more danger in those years, or when you were a police officer getting in some sticky situations?
Both situations were bad. The reason I got out of law enforcement is because I got hit by a car on a traffic stop. So I had to medically retire. I've had 6 operations in the last 6 years because of my injuries sustained from getting hit by a car.
Oh, so you were outside of the car and another one hit you, or how did that happen?
Well, no, it was my partner who was working with me at 4 o'clock in the morning. He was pulling his person over. We thought he was a person driving under the influence, and he was driving northbound in the southbound lane on A1A in a little town called Ocean Ridge, right south side of Boynton Beach, Florida. And he was kind of speeding up to speed away, and my partner, and at the end intersection of A1A and Woolbright, he slammed on his brakes and came to a screeching halt, and my partner had to swerve to the right to avoid hitting him. And what I did was I backed up. I stopped my car about 20 yards behind him. I unbuckled my seatbelt and was getting out of my car and opened up the driver's door. And as I was stepping out, he put the car in reverse and came back and hit me head on. And that's what happened.
That's terrible.
He tried to kill me. He was an illegal immigrant. Now he's a 12-time convicted felon. His license has been suspended 9 times. He was doing fentanyl and cocaine, distributing it, as a matter of fact. He was sitting on a 45 with 31 rounds, and he only got 5 years in state prison. 5 years.
How is that possible?
That's a good question. That is a good question. If I could get in touch with some of these politicians, I would like to ask him that question, the same thing I do, because I got the police report and I got the Department of Corrections information from, because I'm still under confidentiality with my address and everything, because I don't want this individual to know where I live. And he's an illegal immigrant, 12 times convicted felon, and he's out in the state of Florida with Ron DeSantis as the governor. So I'm a little upset about that.
It seems like state to state in the U.S., the punishments vary greatly, because we see in Texas, people are put away for a long time for some minor offenses overall. But you hear that story and it's crazy.
I don't understand it. I was in law enforcement for 30 plus years. I don't understand some of the convictions and how people, some people who with lesser offenses get more time than this guy. I don't understand it. I'll never quite understand the judicial system, but it needs to change.
Were you ever involved in any type of big drug bust?
Yeah, actually, I worked in the narcotics unit at the Escambia County Sheriff's Office for a few years, and we actually was on a big time marijuana drug dealer. We actually had to keep an eye on, and believe it or not, 9 tons of marijuana, and we was working closely with the DEA.
Did your wrestling experience help you at all, as far as in those days, a lot of wrestlers did various types of drugs, so you'd see how people would act on, for instance, like cocaine. You'd be able to spot somebody that's on it based on your experience. Like,
I didn't really notice a whole lot back then with a lot of the narcotics. I knew it was prevalent, but I didn't actually get involved with it that much. Now, wrestling in law enforcement helped me out tremendously, because most of the people in Pensacola, when I became a law enforcement officer, they knew who I was, because everybody was it was on the news. Hey, Lord Humongous being a police officer. So, and I worked the projects pretty much the whole time I was there. I was on TV, had a TV program, but I never had any issues or problems with anybody. I treated everybody with respect, and they pretty much knew who I was, and I didn't have any problems. It was fantastic. I had a great time.
Was it a program like Cops?
It was. Remember America's Most Wanted?
Yeah.
Okay, it was mirrored after the America's Most Wanted program, where it was on a local level, where we profiled wanted fugitives for people's arrest, and I also did crime reenactments for people with unsolved murders and heinous crimes that needed to be solved. And I helped capture over 10,000 wanted fugitives in Pensacola and solved unsolved murders and crimes. And I'm very lucky and happy to report that I became Officer of the Year for the state of Florida in 2004.
Well, congratulations on that, and thank you for your service. As far as murders, if you could talk about it, what would be the worst murder situation you had to be involved with?
It's kind of hard we had several of them, but there was one individual. I was on the SWAT team for 9 years, and this individual, he was called the Interstate Bandit, and he would go up and down the Interstate I-10 and rob banks. And anyway, this individual had a very bad communicable disease, AIDS, and he wanted to make sure that he was going through a divorce, and I understand he gave his wife the AIDS virus as well. Anyway, we spotted him up on 9 Mile Road, and he ended up shooting and killing himself right in front of me one night. It was cold, and he put a gun to his chest and shot himself. That was one of the worst things that involved with me right in front of me. But there was a lot of different murders. That's one comes to mind off the bat.
Yeah, I could imagine. Maybe you might not feel as sorry for someone like that, but that image has got to haunt you.
It does for the rest of my life. I talk about a lot of different issues, a lot of death in law enforcement. Especially with kids being involved. I still think about this 9-year little boy who drowned in a swimming pool in someone's backyard. It kind of haunts me for the rest of my life. And I even remember the young man's name. I won't say it, but God bless him, and he passed away because he drowned. And I still think about that.
What's the most rewarding thing you did when you were on the police force?
Helping people out. I really enjoyed helping people. I really enjoyed getting on the other aspect of law enforcement, profiling wanted fugitives, helping solve crimes. We had a statewide initiative with the Florida Association of Crime Stoppers, where we had every county has unsolved murders. So what I did was I put all the unsolved murders on a deck of playing cards, and issued them out to the county jail, and it gave some to the state where our prisons were. Hopefully we get some information on some of the unsolved murders, homicides from because these victims, their families, they need closure. And I was trying to we put family pictures of the deceased up on billboards and TV, and that's the most important thing I think rewarding is when one of those code cases get solved. That's very rewarding because the family needs closure, and I was just happy to be there to help solve the case for them, because people need closure, and we need to find out where their loved ones were so they can do a proper funeral and burial, and that's my most rewarding.
I don't know if you ever met Billy Jack Haynes, but I'm sure you probably heard about the recent homicide he was involved with. Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, honestly, I do not. I do not, sir. I'm sorry.
And Sonny, I'm sure you know about Sonny. That happened right in the state of Florida. Tammy Sitch. I mean, there's another repeat offender, similar to the person that hit you. What do you think went wrong with the system there that she was allowed? I mean, I said she was going to kill someone years before she did it. She just kept driving under the influence.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't understand the system. Yeah, it needs to be revamped, and I have a lot of different ideas, but I kind of keep those to myself sometimes.